The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here he is, Brandon.
Okay, welcome back to the Brandon Peters Show, and a happy Thanksgiving week to those of you listeners in the United States. Today, for a discussion of 1987's Blood Rage, or you might know it as Nightmare at Shadow Woods, or simply Slasher, I'd like to welcome back to the show from the Milky Way Blues, and you can hear him regularly join me on the Out Now with Aaron and Abe monthly commentaries. It's Yancy Berns.
Hello, hello. Glad to be here. Excited to talk about this strange movie.
Yeah. So on this show, you've been on for Assault on Precinct 13, and this feels like it's in the wheelhouse of that type of movie.
Yes.
With that. So first off, let's talk about like what is the holiday of Thanksgiving to you this time of year? What's it mean?
I like the Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving. I like that sort of run of holiday. I like to cook Thanksgiving, so I like to cook the whole thing. It's just
okay.
The 2 day, the whole thing is just fun for me. So that's coming up. My in-laws are in town. My two little boys are thrilled. So it's just the meal, really. I don't think about the
where it came from.
I don't think about it. The New World, whatever. I don't think about we don't screen the Malick movie or I don't think it's related, is it? But it's like old reliable. I like turkey. That's one thing that people is controversial these days. People say turkey is terrible and tasteless.
No, turkey's good, and turkey's healthy for you too. So if you're a meat eating carnivore, turkey's one of the healthier meats.
Yeah, I mean, you season it, the gravy. I don't understand. It seems like it's a recent thing to me, this idea that so many people say turkey is terrible. I think it's just that people maybe don't enjoy the holiday because it's a lot of family unpleasantness.
Yeah.
But
this year could bring a lot of that for people.
Yeah. That's true. That hasn't happened with our group yet here, but eventually the politics will start.
Yeah. I Thanksgiving to be like, I get, there's a lot of things in our world that come from things that are undesirable, but the tradition has been made into something better than where it started. So it's like,
definitely
to most people, Thanksgiving doesn't mean what it historically started as. It means getting together for a shared meal that includes a turkey, and getting family together. Are you against getting family together? Is that what, like, I think it has preached something that has been better than the ugliness where it came from. But it's like, I never forget. Yeah, don't never forget. But still, like, I also, like me, I'm not not really religious, but Christmas as a commercial holiday, I can get on board with.
Great. Secular American Christmas is fantastic. Everybody gets to enjoy that, and the idea that you're not thinking or you are thinking about where it comes from. I think we do a lot of that these days in society, and I think if you're so self-serious that you can't just enjoy, like for me, Thanksgiving is like 90% about, or I just think of it as the James Bond marathon on like it used to be on TNT. Like to me, that's like 90% of what I think of as Thanksgiving is just watching James Bond movies with commercials with like Uncle whatever.
If you're not in retail, it's an extended weekend for you, holiday wise. My thing, like, I have come to appreciate Thanksgiving a lot more in this day and age because, like, it's this appreciated holiday because everybody's all Halloween has been on the rise in internet times because everybody likes to show their costumes. I've always loved Halloween, but Halloween's got a pressure for me of like, I want a cool costume. I gotta get all these classics I watch take my kids trick-or-treat, get them costumes, make sure all these Halloween parties galore. And then you have the Christmas and Hanukkah season, which is a lot of pressure on people to get gifts, get things right, go to events. Thanksgiving's like a day of eating together and then shopping if you so choose. And it's so much less pressure. In my adult life, I've appreciated the Thanksgiving as long as I can sneak in some Mystery Science Theater 3000 Turkey Day marathon
First time I ever saw that show was on a Thanksgiving marathon.
Yeah.
Started recording it and watched like 7 or 8 of them. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
to me the media that's. I'm sure is there football? Is that a thing too?
Yeah, there's football. Yeah, there's the it used to be the you'd get a Detroit Lions game either early in the day and a Dallas Cowboys game in the afternoon. Now there's like 3 or 4 like it does. I think those two teams still play, but there was football on TV to watch. And you know, and that's like, oh, the Lions lost. Okay, yeah, like that's what it was. There's football. And there's a parade. The
There's always
Thanksgiving Day
movies that are just coming out, Gladiator and
Oh yeah.
and like I don't know. I get it though in terms. Well, it's a hard one to sell to like Arthur. My son Arthur was 4, huge on Halloween, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you about Halloween. There's pressure to it, like like there's a pressure as a dad, as a guy who loves horror movies, as a guy who loves Halloween. There is a pressure, whatever. Despite the fact that I make the Thanksgiving dinner, it's not pressure. I don't feel pressure at Thanksgiving, but like I can also tell that it's not special to Arthur yet.
Yeah.
Except in the fact he gets to see his grandparents, which that is special to him, but he's probably won't eat any of the food I make.
Yeah.
Very picky. And it's like we're trying to sell him on what exactly, but it's kind of just blending into Christmas now. And like you said about Halloween is now called spooky season, and that can last for any amount of days.
Yeah.
And it's about pumpkin spice, which I know is a overdone joke. Really, it's like it's transmogrified a little bit in the last 10 years. As life has gotten harder for everybody in the world, we've leaned in on that holiday because it's such a fun escapist holiday.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, Thanksgiving, all that eating.
Everybody switches right to Christmas. Everybody right after Halloween. It's right. I'm like, whoa. We have
leftovers and
I've
always
27 days of Thanksgiving. Yeah. And I lived, for 4 years of my life, we're in Los Angeles where that was a holiday I didn't come home for. And we would do a friends thing if we had them around and stuff, and we would eat and then go to bed to sleep really early and get up at like 11 at night and go or a midnight or 1 and stand in line for the Black Friday sales. Because we had no families, so we're like, let's go get savings, And
when life was innocent and fun. Yes.
By the time we were done, it was breakfast time, so we'd go to there's this little place in Burbank we used to eat breakfast at a lot. I can't remember what it was called, but it was great. We hit up the little Burbank shopping center with Best Buy, Target, maybe find some others, and then we have breakfast at this little place in Burbank, and I can't remember its name, even though I've eaten there a billion times. But that's what we do. But Thanksgiving now, I'm just like, and I did make turkey back when I was in there, and I learned. I was like, this ain't much.
It's easy to make the turkey. Yeah,
I remember grandma, mom, and aunts being like, "Oh, I gotta make that turkey," and it's like, no, you're just waiting.
You just gotta baste. All you gotta do is remember to baste, and I've been told that's the wrong way now. I originally learned that way. You just baste every 30 minutes. It's nice to do it.
Yeah.
You kind of see the just baste it enough times, and your turkey will turn out well. And baste it and season it, and you're done.
Right. My
stuff is more difficult.
My roommate and I thought it was so easy to make turkey. It had so much left over. We would regularly, in a random month, buy a turkey, so we'd have so much turkey in the fridge that we could have lunches, dinner.
That's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
People take for granted that after Thanksgiving turkey sandwich.
Yep. Oh yeah.
My buddy who passed away, my friend Steve-O, used to.
Yeah.
He after Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving, he would head out to his garage with 2 giant turkey sandwiches, like loaves of bread with turkey and mayo on them, and watch the Ray Harryhausen Mysterious Island because it has a giant turkey in it.
Oh, okay.
Here until he died, I think, every single year. And I love those kind of rituals.
Yeah.
I love that thing.
Underappreciated this Thanksgiving holiday as a commercial holiday and the traditional gatherings and stuff. If you're about where it came from and what, we're not disagreeing with you.
Nobody. The thing is, when you get into an argument with someone about this stuff, and I just got into a kerfuffle on Facebook with somebody about something, it's like people just tend to assume everything else about the person. Like if you don't think about how awful the actual transaction between the Pilgrims and the Native Americans was, then you're a terrible person for not thinking about that. That's just not. That's not people are more dimensional than that. And
Mhm.
like you're saying, if somebody loves Thanksgiving, it's because they like being around their family, they like eating, they
Yeah.
like the physical media stuff that comes out of
Right.
this for guys
Oh
like
yeah.
you.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like it's a life can be hard, and times like these are you're supposed to enjoy
I
them, and
get
it's easy
fuck
to enjoy
Columbus
them.
Day. I get fuck Columbus Day. No one gave a shit about Columbus Day. Bad person name it. Switch the name. We're good.
Right,
That's
right.
good.
Columbus Day.
Yeah, that's fine. That's just. But like Thanksgiving isn't called like the Pilgrims are awesome day. It's giving
Maybe kids will
thanks.
see the Charlie Brown special where they're wearing pilgrim outfits.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's
Yeah.
late imagery, leftover imagery of that's going to be around Thanksgiving, but it's
Yeah.
not about people celebrating cruelty.
No, it's not.
Except
And
for the
sure,
cruelty of.
celebrating maybe a false representation of something, but
Yeah.
still, it's a representation of coming together. So, I mean, there's a fault. I mean, Christmas has a ton of false stuff too, but like, yeah, it's whatever.
Thanksgiving is as secular as American Christmas. It's just boy, that was another hard year. Let's have a nice time. Sort of a
Yeah,
holiday. It's like just if you don't enjoy that, then you call it something else and you do the
yeah,
same thing and you enjoy it, whatever it is. And you have the people around you that think like you do, and you all hate the idea of Thanksgiving, so you have Thanksgiving, but you call it something else. Whatever you have to do.
yeah.
What
Just get together.
so James Bond marathon somewhere.
Throw the James Bond. My
That's
favorites
Harry
from Russia
Potter.
with Love. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Harry Potter. Oh wait, that might not be cool anymore either.
James Bond, then it's always been sort of
James
out of
Bond.
politically incorrect. So
Yeah, it was TNT. They did the James Bond, right? Is that who it
yeah, I
was?
think so.
TBS,
Boy, it would just
TNT?
be like complete chaos. Next on it would be Diamonds Are Forever Ending, and the next would be Doctor No, and then Living Daylights. Like they could show them. There was no order, I think, but they
Yeah.
could show them, and they just ricochet around the
Yeah.
catalog.
I wonder, like now there's like Pluto TV and stuff like that where you can just there's literally a channel dedicated to that stuff all day long. So it's like, ah. But some people haven't found it. I tell people about Pluto and Tubi and Canopy all the time. They're like, "What is this?" I'm like, "You don't know about?" I think Tubi's well known. They had like a big Super Bowl run one year, so I think Tubi's pretty well known. But there's like Pluto, other free TV that just have like a channel dedicated to the thing you like all day. There's like Godzilla channel on Pluto. Like, there you go.
We just watched on Tubi. We watched Jumanji, the
Oh
original.
yeah, yep.
I've always liked. The boys really liked it. And then, there's these commercial breaks, and George, who's only two, shouts commercial every time there's a commercial. Every time there's a commercial. But yeah, that was free. That was fun.
Yeah, good stuff. All right. Well, speaking of fun, we're gonna head into our movie for this week. It's Blood Rage.
Looks like you're gonna get a chance to meet the rest of the family. My psychotic brother just escaped.
Just don't want to spoil things.
Anybody else need more turkey?
No, I'm pretty good, thanks.
I don't like to talk about my brother. It gives me nightmares.
I mean, this Thanksgiving.
Somebody ought to tell them to get inside. Nobody should be out with my brother around.
He looked exactly like Terry, except he had this really wild, crazed look in his eyes.
There's somebody after me and he's chasing me and he's trying to hurt me. You're gonna hurt my kitty. Oh, God.
You're a real sweetheart. You know that? A real sweetheart. It's not cranberry sauce, Artie. It's not cranberry sauce.
From 1987, directed by John Grissmer. This is one of two films he directed. The other was called Scalpel. This would be the last film he directs. And he just passed away in September this year at the age of 91.
Good for him.
Gone too soon, right? This is written by Bruce Rubin, the writer of Zapped.
But not the Ghost?
Huh?
Isn't Ghost, is that Bruce Joel Rubin?
Yeah, that might be, yeah. That's a different, yeah, this one's Zapped. And then he wrote a couple episodes of some television shows as well, but he didn't have many credits. Starring Luis Lasser, or is it Lasser or Lacer? People
Lasser.
pronounce it Lasser, yeah. Mark Soper, Julie Gordon, Jane Benson, Mariana Cantor, who also is the producer of this film. She plays the psychiatrist, but she produced this movie by herself. And Douglas Weiser, also early roles and cameos from Brad Leland and Ted Raimi. This is edited by Michael R. Miller, who also cut Anaconda, Boys on the Side, Miller's Crossing, Raising Arizona, I'm Gonna Get You, Sucka, and was the assistant editor on Raging Bull, Stardust Memories, and Manhattan. So we have some royalty in the house here.
Oh.
And then Ed French is the makeup designer. He also plays the nerdy guy that comes home with a single mom from the date. He did makeup for Amityville 2, Sleepaway Camp, Chud, The Stuff, Vampire's Kiss, Terminator 2, Star Trek 6. More recently, things like Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, and HBO's Perry Mason. This guy, high quality work, whole career. But yeah, he appears here. The movie is about a boy who kills a man and accuses his twin brother of the murder, and the innocent brother ends up institutionalized while his psychotic twin goes free. 10 years later, the innocent twin escapes, which triggers his brother into killing again. So, when there used to be this false narrative that the only holiday a slasher movie never tackled was Thanksgiving. And then that's what Eli Roth made the trailer for Thanksgiving for Grindhouse. That's not true, because this movie in 1987, and I believe there was a movie before it called Home Sweet Home with Body by Jake as the killer. It's a trashy shot on video thing. I don't care for it, but there's a fandom for it. And then the movie with Jill Schulen and Terry O'Quinn, The Stepfather, does brush by Thanksgiving. It has a scene having turkey at the table and talking about stuff in it. So those are the height of the slasher boom era moments with Thanksgiving. But now we just have legit Thanksgiving that came out last year, which I liked. That was a fun movie.
Yeah.
I'm kind of weird on Roth. Like,
me too.
I like him. I feel like he can do better than he can, but maybe he can't. And like personality wise, I don't hear good things about him sometimes, but you know,
I feel the same way. I'm hot and cold. There are a few of his movies I really like, and a few that I feel just like, wow. It kind of feels a little bit like Robert Rodriguez at a certain point, where he's really talented. He cranks them out, but sometimes it's hard to get a beat on why his movies aren't consistently better. But this Thanksgiving was,
I liked it. Yeah. I liked it, and he's gonna make it as Thanksgiving too, because we got to run away from Borderlands. It's weird. Like he's a interesting cat, that Eli Roth. But he was beaten to the punch many years before his trailer with Blood Rage. Have you seen Blood Rage before? Like, when did you first check it out?
I saw Blood Rage once before. Between my last girlfriend and my marriage and kids, for a period of time, I lived with my old roommate Eric again, and I think I've always been physical media guy, but I think when Eric lives with me, he's sort of forced to also become physical media guy. Blows up his collection, but his collection is really only horror, and I cover the bases of everything. I try to. Right. He's just a horror guy, and he just like I just buy the nicest editions of the Argentos and that, and he goes all the way back to the Universal horror, but like he loves the 60s and 70s and 80s gory stuff. And this, I think, just appeared on his shelf in a really nice, was it Arrow put it out? A really nice, like 2-disc set, a movie I'd never heard of, to be completely honest, at all. I was like, okay, well, this is worth watching just because it's an Arrow box set and it looks nice and it's new, and I didn't buy it, so I took it in and watched it. So that was probably 10 years ago, whenever that
it was 2015 when it came out. Because that was the first time I checked it out. I'm a big slasher fan, but there are still always ones I haven't seen because they made a billion of them in the 80s.
Well, I saw all of those. A lot of the B-level ones during that period. I lived with him again, and it was always funny because he was kind of shy about ever telling me when he got something. There's a lot of time you get movies that are really on the edge of like real trashy stuff. So I would have to sort of discover on my own when new things would appear. And Arrow started a really class set up at this point. I think they were still UK only, maybe, but I started putting out the mainstream like Flash Gordon and American Gigolo stuff yet. But they're putting out the Criterion level sets of these real obscure movies. So that's when I first saw it, and I saw a lot of weird movies through that period. All the Arrow horror things that came out, he basically bought.
I picked. I heard Thanksgiving slash. I'm like, sure. I grabbed it. I think it came out in the UK first, and then it came out like when they go open their US studio, they put one out. and I watched it. I was like, oh, okay. And then I just, funnily enough, decided to start watching it Thanksgiving night after I got home from everything every year, waiting for the clock to tick down on like the Vinegar Syndrome sales
Right.
or waiting on those things to happen. I would watch the clock tick down and be like, all right, just watch. And I'll post like a picture on social media every year of, yep, it's a different goofy moment from Blood Rage. Like usually the Ted Raimi with the
Yeah,
condo thing.
that's a weird idea.
But I've made it a tradition. So I've become very fond of this movie over the years because of just repetitive traditional viewing and stuff. But I mean, like if you make one of the smartest moves I think a filmmaker can do if they're getting into genre is to make a holiday movie because people will watch it.
Yeah.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles probably would still live on, but man, every Thanksgiving that pops in, you make a Christmas movie, you're definitely gonna get. Especially if you're a horror film, you're gonna get the ironic Christmas tradition views in and stuff like that. But this
You
one,
really think Red One will get views?
whew, no, that'll get in the forgotten pile. Like,
There's got to be some never gotten. There's enough Christmas movies that some don't ever make it,
mhm.
But if you halfway try, yeah, you get permanent status.
Santa Claus Conquers the
Credit-
Martian still gets
Yeah.
views every year. So
Yeah, because it has it's public domain.
Right. Though one of my childhood classics, The Night They Saved Christmas, has not come back into. I don't think that ever got a DVD release.
Which one is that? Is that stop motion or is that animated?
It is live action. It takes place at I think it takes place in some snowy, probably the North Pole. I can't remember. And
Probably.
like Santa lives in this cave, and there's like got all these toy makers, and like there's this mining facility impeding on Santa, and they don't know, but people don't know Santa's there. And it's one we used to watch all the time when I was a kid. And I'd never see it. It's from 1984. So, directed by Jackie Cooper and
really?
starring Jacqueline Smith, Art Carney as Santa Claus, Paul LaMatte's in it.
Paul LaMatte is in it?
Paul Williams, Scott Grimes. Yeah, this thing's kind of stacked. June Lockhart plays Mrs. Claus. Yeah. So
Art Carney as Santa who lives in a cave and is about impinged upon by some kind of development, or what did you say?
Yeah. That's what I'm kind of remembering.
It must be on YouTube, right?
Oh, I'm sure. Santa's home is Santa's home is threatened when an oil company blasts in the North Pole. So
I would have been 11 when that came out.
Okay.
They would have marketed to me like crazy. And
it was a TV movie. That's why we haven't seen a lot of release and stuff.
I remember.
Yeah.
I guess, but I feel like anything that was marketed to me, I would remember from those times.
Yeah. Yeah, it used to be on our station was Super 55 Fox back in the day. It was they used to run that a lot because that's where all my television nostalgia for like an aesthetic comes from is from Super 55 Fox because it was new because Fox was new and they didn't have a news. They just had a guy come on once an hour, read a couple headlines and go. His name was Steve Shine. He's a hardcore Republican guy and stuff like that. But they had Happy's Place. They had like a lot of. They had it was a hybrid of the national programming, syndication, and local stuff that would go on that. So Blood Rage would have fit perfect on a late Saturday night.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've traditionally watched this movie called the title card of it is Slasher. I don't know that I've seen with Blood Rage as the actual title on there.
Oh, really? Is it always called Slasher?
Yeah, and then Nightmare at Shadow Woods, when that's in there, it's one of those black insert cards that says Nightmare at Shadow Woods. So it's not
That's
really
a more appropriate name. Well, and there are shadowy woods, and a lot of it takes place it's on this guy's. It all takes place on this guy's compound, right?
Yeah, it's like an apartment complex. Yeah.
Such a cheap little Thanksgiving dinner they're having. I always think I remembered it as being this opulent, typical movie Thanksgiving scene, but it's like I had to remind myself, oh, this is actually Thanksgiving. They're just having it right now. It's such a small.
It happens right there
so many times that you can't forget that it's Thanksgiving, but.
Right, they do. Yeah, they have the mom visits the son in the mental institution, brings him a piece of pumpkin pie. Then there's that Thanksgiving dinner, and then the joke that happens 3 or 4 times of it's not cranberry sauce.
which just made me think that, is this a movie where they just overshot so they could decide what actually happened later? Like, and they just said, we'll make sure we get the cranberry sauce joke in there at least once.
Yeah, that's probably it.
There's so many times I'm like, did you need this shot because you needed to tell this version of the story? Because I gotta tell you, I can't, from very early on, I lose track of which brother is which. And I don't feel like the movie, I mean, obviously one is just escaping and one is there the whole time, but it does certainly feel like there are several scenes where he couldn't be. I feel like at some points you're made to think, oh, there is no brother, it's just him and he's crazy. Or am I just totally reading that into it?
I don't know. I felt like there was two, because I mean they have the two, and then they're clearly different people when they're. I mean, the one's like got a little bit more timid, and his hair's a bit more frazzled. Yeah. They do make them wear like they wear similar clothes but with different designs on them. So it's not like one's like wears a suit around and the others wear, they're wearing stuff. I think we're meant to think that the characters could be fooled, but I think it's pretty, for me it was pretty. Grant, I've seen this movie a bunch now since I've owned this Blu-ray since 2015 and watched it once a year.
I get it now.
Yeah.
Like out of print.
So I didn't really have that problem. And the one's just like cool and collected, and like I would have pointed out that I think this movie, I think it intentionally is trying to be a bit more comedic with it, but it also is tonally off balance because it actually has some decent ideas regarding mental health and being a psychopath as well, because there's the Thanksgiving dinner that happens apartment, which has the main family, his girlfriend, and then the the new girl department that the guy's like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to like sit and plan a hookup with you while my girlfriend's right there. But everybody's drinking wine and he's drinking milk. I'm like, yeah, that's a psychopath right there. He's just drinking milk and and it's a full-on big glass of, I'm like, yeah, that's a sign of a psychopath. That's a good little detail. And then he later drinks tomato juice straight. But they have like with him with that
tomato juice only, yeah.
Yeah, just tomato. And then the Louise Lasser, which this almost, if you know about her, it's like, is she playing herself in this? Is that what's going on here? Because it's almost so grounded and raw. It's painful to watch with her with stuff.
It was. I didn't really pick up on it the first time I watched. This time I watched it, and I'm like, okay, we don't. Because around that point in time, Louise Lasser sort of left the culture in terms of being someone everybody knew about. She's forever famous, and she's still around. But like most people now our age, well, you're younger than me, but don't have much sense of her. But she, of course, was the understudy of Barbra Streisand as Miss Marmalstein in I Can Get It For You Wholesale, which is the first thing Barbra Streisand ever did. And Louise Lasser was the understudy. Then she was married to Woody Allen for 4 years, and they both seem to really cherish that marriage. They both get a lot out of that marriage. And then she was Mary Hartman, which was a parody of a soap opera, but they did it five nights a week in primetime for years. So she did like 500 episodes of this thing. And the joke of Mary Hartman was that she's very neurotic. And so, but it was funny. It's a really well-liked show. And after she quit the show, she did an SNL that was a big disaster, like a famous disaster where she didn't get along with the cast.
It was the first season, the second to last episode.
Yeah, I've never seen the episode back in circulation though, because for a while the rumor was that you couldn't see it.
I'd have to check Peacock, but yeah.
But that starts to feel like that's at that point. I'm like, okay, so that she had this comic sort of routine, which was that, and the scenes in this where she's like calling the wrong number and like, whoa, no, it's not you. It's sort of like a humorless version of Louise Lasser doing her thing, whereas on Mary Hartman, a scene like that would be really funny. And you can see it's really funny in like Bananas, even though she's not really has a lot of gag lines. She's obviously really funny. In this, you're only seeing that she's sort of the added value element. They must have paid a certain amount of money to get her in the movie. And unlike other slashers that have a big name in them, she's in this a lot.
Yeah,
I don't know how much I feel her supported by the direction, but she's giving a lot of this Louise Lasser sort of thing. And, it's it's interesting how that context. The first time I saw this, knowing less about her, I just sort of thought, oh, this is just one of these she needed the money movies, and sure, it probably is, but like having some context for what her persona, public persona was, enriches this movie a bit, you know.
Yeah. Well, and Woody has written that, she struggles mightily with mental health and stuff like that too. And
Yeah,
their relationship, while they both cherish it, was not a pleasant one once they
yeah.
were finally together.
It seemed like
it,
most of it was like a sex thing,
it
those
was,
two.
yeah, something like that. But also like they really flourished. I think they were each other's muses for quite a bit, and
Yeah.
that helped a lot too. And um, he was very like, because he said that he wrote Diane Keaton would have been in Bananas, but he wrote the part for Louise and felt he owed it to her to put her, even though they were hadn't been together
Right.
when that movie was made. And that apparently she was. I mean, it's weird to look at her in this. Look, a woman who you just look at her and be like, yeah, she's been through some rough times, but like apparently she used to be like the hottest thing on the block back then, back in the late 60s and early 70s. That was the
Yeah.
people used to look at him and be like, you landed her, like, how did you, like, what? And uh that was part of the thing he had to deal with when they were together. She was quite free spirited too, with stuff. But like, yeah, this movie just like she's bringing such a grounded thing that's where some of the tonally off thing, like where I could see a midnight movie audience laughing at every scene she's doing because it looks like she's playing it big when
Yes.
she's actually, if she was in a cast that's been as experienced and as talented as her, it'd
Uh-huh.
fit right in. But here she looks like overdoing it when she's really not. It's just the rest of the
No.
cast is like, they're kid actors in a slasher movie that's shot in Jacksonville, Florida, super low budget.
And they're trying to
Um,
make the most of having a movie star in their movie, and so
yeah,
they use like everything they have with her. Yeah, of course. I mean, again, I think the directing and the choice of takes don't help her out, but I think she's doing what she's trying to give it something.
yeah,
Probably trying to give it too much dimension than a
right,
movie than it can really take. The other guy, the what's his name, Mark Soper,
yeah,
strange performance, but he definitely, as he starts to get cocky and sort of have fun with the killings, he seems to sort of land the tone
hmm,
better than these isolated scenes where Louise Lasser is sort of breaking down, which is, it's a
yeah,
very strange movie. It's got a very strange tonal clash. It's one of those movies where if you're not that observant or you're not that interested, you could just watch and go, oh, it feels like an Ed Wood thoughtlessly
right,
done
yeah,
movie. But it's not. It's more like someone probably had a good idea and a relatively good script, but somewhere along the line they didn't get much money for it, and the corners were cut, and you know, um, compromises were made, and you end up with this sort of compromised looking movie. But if you're following along with what is going on and how the cast is having fun and how the filmmaker is having fun, it's hard to not enjoy it. Um, Although strangely, the version I watched this time was the slasher version, which is really cut.
it's pretty lean, yeah,
It's really cut, so much so that the scene where Louise Lasser comes upon her husband and he sort of falls apart because he's
hmm,
already been, he's sitting on the like this or whatever, and he falls apart and his head splits open. Instead, you just see him like this, and then it cuts, and you're like, "What
yeah,
is he into life? Is this unveiling a new dimension of a zombie movie?" Because it's an
right,
interesting cut. And there's a lot of that. Like he'll walk into a room, somebody will scream, and it'll cut away. Then I saw you sent me the cut scenes.
yeah,
Funny how those scenes in a slasher movie, and I think slasher movies are movies that have a heart. If you don't like them, it's very hard to sell their appeal. People can dismiss you. Oh, you just like sex and guts and whatever. And sure, that's part of it, but like, um, I'm losing my train of thought. Damn it. But
well, it's funny, yeah, like Soper too that you mentioned, um, selling it and stuff. Well, before I get Soper, but Ed French, the makeup designer, special effects guy in this, said he didn't see the movie for a while, and then he picked it up when it came out on like VHS to watch, and he's like, "Why did I even show up to this? Where's all my work?" Because like they literally cut. I mean, they would show later in the movie like the result of something, but the action of doing it was what they apparently had to cut from the movie. It was probably an MPAA thing.
Which is this whole story. Why do they even bother shooting it so? Because the gore in this is pretty extreme.
Yeah.
It couldn't have thought they were going to get away with it. I guess you just sort of overshoot and then they get away with what you can, because the slasher version is like, that felt like a 1980s slasher TV movie where they cut every frame, even violent, out of it.
And the gore is impressive too. Like, that's the thing. It's not like
that's what I was going to say earlier when I lost my train of thought, was that it's funny when the appeal of those movies, it is those scenes where the kills come, as immoral and awful as it sounds, or the whole movie always comes to life for those 40 seconds, because the craftsman really working on the machete sliding through somebody, and like those are the most exciting and sort of, I don't want to say orgasmic because it's not really a sexual thing, but those are the movie moments. And it's funny that those, when you see without those moments, it's a weird sort of, constant. But it's hard to explain to non-slasher fans that the scenes where the big kills come are the most entertaining parts.
That's why Steve Johnson, Greg Nicotero, Tom Savini, that's why those guys are rock stars. That's why they're household names, is because of those 40 seconds and those things that would happen. Your Rick Baker, like all those guys, that's why they're all stars, is because, and that's why horror, I always talk about when you get into like cutting into like genres and like franchise fans and people like that, when they're really hardcore, the horror fans tend to be the ones that know the most about filmmaking, it seems, because they are the ones that dive deep and like, well, who's the guy who made this body part come off so realistically, and what's his name, and how did he do it? And then they start learning about filmmaking stuff. They're the ones who seem to want to dive deep in stuff. And the sci-fi fans definitely, like with Star Wars and Star Trek, they want to know about the models and things like that. But horror a lot of times tend to be, and those are the ones, that's the genre too, where a lot of people can get like watch those and be like, I think I can maybe make that. Like, you feel something in yourself. Not that it's easy or something, but you feel like that's the genre where like a slasher or something like that is like, I don't need an immense amount of resources to get this off the ground.
And you can, and it's also an element of, I don't want to say you can tell it's fake, but it's fake, and so the theatricality is part of what's cool about it. And when a really good effect, and a great Tom Savini effect or something gets pulled off, it really is, it's like someone driving a car in a corkscrew, like in that James Bond. It's like, wow, that was an amazing gag you pulled off for that, so it's interesting. It's an interesting art form. So.
Yeah. I mean, when I was in high school making movies with my camcorder on VHS, like coming up with like blood, I'm like, what do I got in the house here? I know what they use. They corn syrup, and so I don't have that sitting around. So I'd just like pour stuff together and it'd smell like asshole, but I like film it. So I like, okay, it looked good. Doesn't matter. Like I'd have, and my mom like, she'd be washing things and be like, what is that heinous honey barbecue sting that's in my, like, I was like, made blood.
Have you seen the Herschel Gordon Lewis, like early Herschel Gordon Lewis movies?
Oh yeah.
I just saw Blood Feast. That's the only one I've ever seen, but that one, like, this is crazy because this seems way too early for anyone to be making a movie where someone is eating someone's guts like this.
Yeah. He was ahead of his time.
It's really, like, at a certain point, people got okay with seeing these things in movies as long as they knew that it was fake. And like Blood Feast, it really looks fake, very fake, but they just keep doing it. He keeps eating these people in Blood Feast.
Yeah. I think with the Blood Rage, I think the kills, like, it's got a nice kill count, and then like the kills are mostly good. I mean, you got a guy that the boyfriend of the mother, he's got multi-part death here. He's got, his hand gets chopped off. That's the biggie. And then like he's got a payoff later when he leans, like you mentioned, and his, like, you see his brain inside his head chopped off. You get the Ed French, of course, the makeup of the effects guy, his death is like, here's my severed head hanging from a thing. You got a pretty good machete going through a guy. I did notice because, you watched that cut and I sent you the clips of that were different. Two characters wear the same outfit in this movie. I noticed when I said that. The guy who's the helper to the psychiatrist with the trank gun, and then the friend that like is trying to get with Terry's girlfriend, but Soper's girlfriend, but he's in the friend zone. He's got the same. They both got the blue vest, the button. Like they wore the same outfit.
They had one trunk of clothes.
Somebody shot their scenes later because they're not in a scene together. I don't think, but I'm like, someone shot their scenes later, or someone got the in case we don't have enough, we have to shoot this 8 times clothes. Yeah. Got one of those pairs, but quite funny that I noticed that. But I think the kills are pretty good here. When they're cut out, you're like, what am I watching? Some melodrama? Like,
yeah, it's amazing again how slasher movies work because you're really watching it for that 2 or 3 minutes of makeup footage, special effects footage. The rest of the stuff just has to keep moving, I guess.
Yeah,
but like
funny
you'll say I like that movie if it's a slasher, if the kills were good. At least I will, and like it doesn't have to do almost anything else. Like it's almost like a musical where the 20 minutes of musical numbers were great, and so I liked the movie, but the other 100 minutes were just sort of waiting for the musical numbers.
Right. And this one has enough. I think because it goes for more comedic touches, and I think all the actors are in it to have a goofy time. No one aside from Luis, like everybody's given a pretty silly performance, teen wise, the single mom wise, everything like that. That kind of helps. But there is like someone's noticing, like, so there's good stuff. Another thing, like the editor apparently notices there's some good like mental health stuff and weird things here too, and they're trying to show it's a familial thing because there's a scene after Terry first starts killing again, and he goes to take a shower and scrubbing his blood off clean like right away. They cut
sauce.
Huh? Yeah. So he's taking a shower, and then after he starts scrubbing, they immediately cut to Louise Lasser scrubbing up the oven, in which we're going to continually see her drinking wine and obsessively cleaning the house while he's pouring blood and obsessively like cleaning it off. I'm like, they're showing some, like, this is like some deeper stuff than this movie wants to sell you, but the editor's picking up on it. And Luis is delivering that movie.
Yeah,
she's totally delivering that movie, but like that's why it's like it's kind of tonally off with what's going on, because like the editor's seeing something, putting it there. There's little clues that they've done some research about like being a psychopath and like mental health things, and it's good. And this movie has like, it wants to go for that dark John Carpenter slasher ending that when it gets there too, to put on top of it when it's like, because to build up the end scene ends at the pool at the apartment place, and the mother comes to kill who she think, you see her kill Terry, and you're like, okay, she came to her senses, and then she's hugging Todd, the other twin, and then finds out that, she thought she shot Todd, not Terry, and then she kills herself, and it's like, like Jesus Christ.
It does feel like everybody is right on the border of admittedly making a campy movie, because obviously they've seen Psycho a lot of times in terms of like Norman and Mother and how you can sell that kind of
like, you get a sense that she might have molested the kid,
right? There's
this movie.
There's a certain bit of that element of that stuff there in the movie. It's a little bit of that sexual weirdness between the characters, the mother and son characters, that you just drop a little bit of that into your movie, and it makes sort of Psycho. Oh, it's but no,
it's a weird thing that like it's more fascinating now, with that, because of it, because there are some way off the rails slashers I've seen. There's one with Michael Biehn that's like nuts. The Fan. There's that one.
I've seen The Fan.
And Scream for Help's another one that goes into that soap opera, like crazy melodrama stuff that offers a little bit here. But this one, and it's like, it also, there's this like killer out that you've also all run into, but you're gonna sit and hang and play video games in an apartment at one point. Like,
that was a funny scene I noticed culturally too. The scene where the two guys are playing video games and sort of off in their own world, and the two girls try to sort of seduce them away from it.
Right.
Fantasy has changed now to where they just have sex with you while you're playing the video games. They wouldn't stop playing the video games in the current version of the
Or you
fantasy.
play the video game together, take a break to have sex, and then go
Yeah,
back to
right.
playing the video game.
Right, but the idea these are video games for good, and I'm gonna get laid. It's like that's funny. It doesn't really feel like the modern
Yeah.
take on it. I gotta say, I just want to drop in because I don't know when else I'll say it.
Yeah.
So the first time I saw this, I watched it, and the thing that was on my mind the whole time was this Mark Soper guy.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, it's that guy. And my dad took me to see a movie I still love to this day, The World According to Garp.
Yep.
It's the George Roy Hill movie. And it's a great movie. And he is in that. He's a very sort of strange, he's a handsome guy, but he's kind of slightly creepy. Something about him is intense and creepy. And he plays this character named Michael Milton, who gets involved with Garp's wife, who is played by Mary Beth, what is her name? Paul Schrader's wife, currently his wife. And this guy ends up suffering a horrible fate at the end of the movie. She's cheating on Garp with him, with this student who won't leave her alone. She's a student of hers, and he ends up he just ends up getting his dick bitten off by Garp's wife, because Garp doesn't realize they're in the parking lot, they're in the driveway, and Garp comes smashing into the back of their car accidentally. He gets his penis bitten off, and I didn't know what oral sex was or what had happened in that scene. I don't remember the conversation, but after my father must have explained to me, well, she was doing this thing that sometimes happens, and the idea that you get your penis bitten off too. So that he's not in a lot of other stuff, Mark Soper. So just seeing him again, I was like, wow, it's that guy again. I always wondered what happened to that weird guy.
Yeah. He was also
a theater actor or something, right?
Yeah, because he came back for an interview for this Blu-ray, so he's still around. I saw him when we did Summer of '82 at 40. He was in World According to Garp, and then late in the summer he showed up in John Cassavetes' Tempest.
I've never seen that. Is he in that?
Yeah, he's in that too. Those are like the two notables of his career. But yeah, he's an interesting in the vein of your like Mark Pattons. Like, who's this guy? Like, what happened to him? From Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Mark Patton. He was the star of that, and he was in Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, the Altman one with Cher. Yeah. So he did that. He did Elm Street 2, and then he just disappeared off the face of the earth. And it was like, what? And then he actually. So what happened? Like, I didn't find out from the they did the Never Sleep Again documentary for Nightmare on Elm Street, and I didn't seen it yet. It was new at the time, and I saw he was coming to a horror convention here in town, and I was like, fuck, I want to know what happened to Mark Patton. Like, this guy disappeared off the face of the earth. So my sister and I went to his table. We talked to him for about an hour, and like, he was crazy because he's a gay, openly gay man, but his management, everything was trying to closet him. You can't do that. You can't do that. And like, he would go to like nightclubs, to go to gay clubs, and there would be like a guy from the studio there, like, get the fuck out of here, go. And he said like guys would come, like a studio, like a manager would come to his apartment, and his apartment was all clean and nice, and he'd start throwing his clothes on the floor. He's like, this is what a straight boy's apartment looks like. And then like they gave him like fake girlfriends, like, and stuff like that. He just like, I can't live like this. So he just told no one, moved to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, where he's been since. And he runs an art gallery and all this stuff. And a private investigator that they hired during the Never Sleep Again documentary found him, and he was willing to come tell his story. So he told his story, and then they actually made a documentary called Scream Queen about his life. And then that's kind of funny because that's like also another person that disappeared was the guy from Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. He was I think he was just like, he didn't get many acting gigs, was kind of embarrassed of what he did, or not embarrassed, but just didn't like the response he was getting to things, and disappeared off the face of the earth. And then he was found the Garbage Day guy. This is who we're talking about, and he came out of the woodwork to tell his story and do some conventions. And he wrote me an email once when I reviewed the Blu-ray for Nightmare on Elm or Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, and said, "I appreciate your kindness and the fact that you get it." And it's not everybody did it. Like, he wrote me this really long, nice email, and I was like, "Oh, wow, okay." And but yeah, these people. So Soper's probably one of those people just quit. His last credit is White Oleander in 2002, and he was
now people have bad experiences in Hollywood.
Yeah, but all his last parts are like reporter, FBI geek in Swordfish. Waiter.
If the Marvel movies had been going in the early '80s, he would have been a good Adam Warlock.
Oh gosh, yeah. He's got that.
He at least looked like Adam Warlock.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not. He must be theater, just like doing something. Because he doesn't even do conventions. I don't think.
Really.
I've never seen him on any of the circuits, but it's an interesting dual role for the guy. People won't remember him for World According to Garp, but goddamn, Blood Rage comes around.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
Well, that goes to show you how one of these boutique labels takes your movie on and makes a big deal out of it. This movie's profile, went up so much.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure Guillermo del Toro has a copy of this.
Edgar Wright probably has friends over to show it. Yeah.
The ones who will understand it and enjoy it rather than just sit there and make fun of it,
Right. Yeah. And I think I think this movie is like a fun time from all, like, it delivers in the gore, delivers in the humor. It's got some fascinating aspects to it. Like, we had talked about the opening at the drive-in theater, which is nuts. It's got crazy synth music going on.
Great score at the beginning. What is that? Just stock score? It sounds like Carpenter.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, it sounds like the type of sound like a lot of these like hipster like groups want to go for nowadays with their music. There's just nuts stuff. Like, it's just party at the drive-in. Ted Raimi's selling condoms in the bathroom,
like a drug dealer, which is weird.
And then Louise Lasser.
Apparently, Louise Lasser. Apparently, just seeing their mother kiss a guy once is enough to make them instantly, or at least one of them instantly turn into a serial killer.
Well, it's kind of nuts here too, because they're trying to make her look younger, but trying too hard, so it looks really awkward. And I'm like, she looks old. Why is she dressing up like and have her the younger guy? But did you notice when they were like, so that set up that like Louise Lasser and her boyfriend or somebody are making out in this station wagon while the boys are sleeping in the back, and they're sleeping in the back with a blanket on them and an assault rifle on top of them.
Oh, really?
I just noticed that this time watching. I'm like, what in the world? Like, what's going down at the drive-in this week? Like, I just like horrible. Like, I guess it's a sign of like horrible parenting. Or like,
maybe
who is
they were
she
going to
dating?
Originally have the kids shoot somebody, and they thought, no, we got to make this a slasher gore movie.
That's possible, yeah. And then they go and find some couple fucking in the back of a seat of a car and cleave him to death. Like,
I just never seen in a movie where the implication is that you can be turned into a little fucked up, guy in 30 seconds like that, where you instantly go from that location to another and kill somebody right in the face with a hatchet because you saw your mother kiss a man.
Yeah, and I don't
know. It's like the most intense Oedipal reaction possible.
Right. Yeah, not a good movie for single mothers. Because not a good look, because the other one in this movie, like, has a man over and she has a baby and like she's like, shh, quiet baby, mommy's trying to get you a rich dad.
Yeah, and that's why she gets killed. She gets killed right away for that. Just like, and it's funny too, because the guy whoever Louise Lasser's boyfriend character, the guy whose house they're at, I guess, he has an office on site where he keeps his beer.
He's the apartment. She's dating the apartment manager apparently.
So he's got an office, and he goes into his office, and he gets beer, and you just right away get the attitude, this guy's got an office and a beer. Fuck him. Like, this guy's the man. And right away he gets killed. It's interesting. And
well, and I was laughing so like there's two great details I enjoyed this time around that I noticed because I'm paying more hardcore attention for an episode. in the single mother's apartment. So when Terry goes over to go with the promiscuous girl that has just moved in the apartment, who's babysitting the baby, the whole time they're there, all you hear is ah ah, ah. And it's nobody. They don't even take care of it. They don't go.
No, yeah.
I was there laughing. And then a cool detail, and one that helped me realize where the final girl is later in the movie, is when Terry kills them, the single mother and her boyfriend at the apartment, the record player starts skipping the song.
Oh.
It's skipping. It's kind of creepy. And then later in the movie, the girl wanders in to hide in an apartment, and before you see the baby and you hear her enter and you hear the record skipping. So I'm like, oh, because a lot of the apartments look all the same in this. You hear the record skipping, and it's consistent whenever they're in that apartment. They remember, the sound designer remembered to put that record skipping in there. I'm like, okay, that's some good stuff.
Wait a second. This takes place at I thought it was this is an apartment complex?
Yeah, this is an apartment. Yeah.
I thought it was just like an estate or a ranch or something that this.
No, I thought it was they have sliding doors and stuff. I figured it was an apartment.
Oh, so that must have been the deal. They must have gotten the rights to film at this apartment, and then it takes place in an apartment complex.
Yeah, that's
I thought it was just, this guy was just a rich dude, and he had an office in his house.
Oh no, I
figured had an office in his house. You know, what do you do in an office? Your home.
I was judging like the size and the layout of it, so I was like, yeah, this is an apartment place. And there's like little wood stairs that go up to places, so I was like, yeah, it's an apartment place.
Where do they shoot this? Is this Canada or something?
Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville. All right,
Jacksonville, Florida. But yeah, and then the funny thing was Ted Raimi. So like, what's Ted Raimi doing in this movie?
Yeah.
He said, so he was living in Detroit. He got in an automobile accident. He rear-ended a cop, and he said he's like, I wasn't on drugs. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't drugs. Like, I just wasn't paying attention. And because of that, he wasn't able to drive for a year. So he convinced his dad to let him move to New York to be an actor. And his dad said, you have 1 year or else you're coming back here and you're working for me. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the year, he had already written his dad a letter saying, I'm sorry, you were right. I'm moving back. He'd already put that in the mail. He got this part. And that was like proof enough to his dad to let him keep going.
Wow. Because it is odd that he's in this. It wasn't like he was cast because he was Ted Raimi.
Yeah. It was like, oh, did they? No, it's like literally this is what he could get at the time. And like, I guess a year, what would it be, the next year they start shooting Evil Dead 2? Or had they already?
Oh, I guess so, huh?
Because I was like, wait, your brother could give you jobs, man. Yeah, Evil Dead 2 was 1987. So he must have got this. So this is probably shot a couple years before 1987, I'd imagine. I imagine this one took probably a little bit to get off the ground on the distribution circuit.
Probably, yeah.
So I imagine he got this and then went and worked for Evil Dead 2. I would imagine that. But they got the release date is listed as the same year. That could have been.
Oh, it was filmed in 83. Wow.
Oh, this movie was? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were hoping to hit the real slasher boom cycle, but
pretty early to have a safe sex drop like that.
Yeah. You would think that would be.
7, I'd be like, okay, they'd have to be doing that at this point, but yeah.
Yeah, post 85 would be that, I would think, where that would come in. But yeah, that really interesting. But it's a funny gag, and it's like, oh, what the hell movie is this? And then you're like, oh, it's a slasher movie called Blood Rage. It's got this weird thing
called slasher.
Yeah, but you know, it's funny too because I'm reminded. This movie also reminds me when it gets to the finale of It Follows, because that ends up in an indoor pool.
Oh yeah,
scene as well, and I was like, wow, I wonder if like It Follows somehow got an idea like, yeah, indoor pool is a cool setting for a finale or something like that. But probably just a happy coincidence. But
yeah, probably.
But yeah, but no, I think this is a fun little movie. It's better than most slashers of its era, I would think. Not like, oh, it's rises above. It's look out, Nightmare on Elm Street. Here's Blood Ray. Here's Terry. But I think it's quite strong. I think there's a handful of them that don't have a sexy monster killer or a cool mask that people like. That like The Stepfather is really good. That's I like that one a lot. That
Really
I think
good
you
movie.
could show The Stepfather to a like not slasher loving horror person at all, and they would enjoy The Stepfather.
Oh yeah, just a
Um,
straight up. Yeah.
but if you're looking for some goofy shit to watch on Thanksgiving as you're waiting to Severin Films or Vinegar Syndrome to start their sales up,
Right.
this is what I do most
So
of the
when do you
time.
watch it? But is it around this time every year, or when
Yeah,
do
around
you?
well, this year's probably gonna be different because I watched it for this, but like I usually get home from Thanksgiving night, probably around like 8 or 9 at night from my in-laws,
Mhm.
and make sure the kids are all settled, and they'll pop this in. I used to like everybody's asleep. I'm like, I'm just gonna go out to the stores, walk around, see what's up at those, because people would be like, it'd be at the time where like all the big rush is gone, and you just kind of wander, like, all right, this is something to do at night. But then most of the stuff's online now, so.
Yeah, true.
But that's yeah. But I would pop this on as the countdown to those sales would come. But this year I'm very money conscious, and I've
As am
tried my
I.
best. I'm not
Yeah.
into any of the Severin Films ones this year, so I'm like, okay,
Right.
Vinegar Syndrome. I not that into Congo. I don't, and I'm
Right.
trying.
I don't need I want the tenant, but I
Oh
don't
yeah, I
need.
want Tenet, but
I
that
want
one's going to
tenant.
be in a 50% sale at some point. It won't this year, but at some point I want. Yeah, that one is one I do want. But like, yeah, I'm
I
trying
was
to be
glad,
like
yeah.
they used to.
I'm
They
glad
always
Criterion's last announcement was sort of slightly less exciting because it doesn't.
yeah.
I don't have to worry about. Oh, I can't get that right away. Damn
Yep.
it!
Yeah. I'm just like I just like and
No
uh
giant Kurosawa box. That's fine. I don't need it right now.
yeah, I'm like I'm trying to get in this mode where like not being tricked by Vinegar Syndrome, but then to make me think you need Bloodhook, man. Well, Bloodhook's awesome, but that's a bad
Genre?
example. But ones that like, you know, I, I never heard of before this, didn't care for, but somehow feel like I need to buy it day one and have it right now on 4K for $60. And it's like I'm trying to get out of that mode. I would like to check these
Definitely
films
ordered
out.
little, or I would have ordered people looking for Mr. Goodbar
Yeah.
happily, but not going to happen this year. It's all right.
Yeah.
These things are not going anywhere. If there's only 5 copies left in the world, if I needed it, I could get it.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
going to be.
Yeah, there's always going to be someone to pick. Like if it's sold out from someone before, someone else is going to pick up. Oh, that one sells. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll pick. Because there's been a real interesting thing with them and like the is it MCD Rewind or whatever. I don't have a lot of their titles, but there was one called Action USA. Vinegar Syndrome put it out. It's a funny ass action movie.
Mhm.
So it's so bad it's good
Sure.
type. And I was like, oh, I needed that. Got the slip cover. Da da da. Like 2 months later, this MC Rewind puts it out for like $15, their own version.
Really?
Yeah, and that's happened a couple times in Vinegar Syndrome too, where it's like, hey, but
Interesting.
granted, the Vinegar Syndrome one is better. The additions, bonus features, and I think the restoration was a different one and was better. But still, if you want that movie,
There are very few physical media people like us left, so they got to hustle us real hard.
oh, I know, get us in. But I'm trying to be like, I need to stick to the directors I love. I need to stick to the film franchises I love and the films I love to get the newer versions of those or the ones I forgot or been meaning to, or like some classic I never owned. Like I don't own Dr. Zhivago, so if that comes on 4K, I'm gonna grab it.
Yeah, I would like that too. I don't own it either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but when you get relegated to, I'm fine with the Blu-ray. I don't need the 4K. I
Mhm.
know I'm going to look at that Blu-ray askance for the rest of my life and probably never watch it because I know there's a 4K out there.
oh yeah, yeah,
I'm lying to myself, but like I'm like,
that
I can keep the Bluray on this one. Blu-rays look great.
yeah,
It's not how my mind works. When
yeah. My mind knows there's something better out
the
there.
better version. Why am I wasting my time with this?
I'm
It's
watching
just
this inefficient thing.
a slight uptick I could get from a 4.
Although
Okay.
there is funny stuff like that. That not the most recent one, but the previous Paul Rudd Ghostbusters. When the review came, they sent me a standard Blu-ray, and I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Like, for that,
Oh, sure, that's fine. Yeah.
I was like, that one's fine. But yeah, it's hard being the connoisseur of this stuff and be like, oh.
Keeping the flame alive. It's
But then
hard.
again, without the random, I need to get it right now discovery, I wouldn't find stuff like Blood Rage. You
That's
know, like
unfortunately the truth. Yeah, all the blind buys over the years have been the sort of the best part because you realize you like a movie and you already own it. Hey, I have a movie that I like and I just watched it. It's
from
right.
the good trash I never knew existed to the classy, wonderful, forgotten films and international films that Criterion introduced to me. That's why when Aaron and I did the Criterion episode we did, it's like they've introduced me to a lot of my international cinema tastes. Like they have been such a curator because I discovered a movie awareness of a lot of things because of Criterion. So and Arrow, Shout, Vinegar Syndrome have done that with genre films and things like that. And it's kind of weird to me now that they're all releasing like you mentioned American Gigolo and then like Shout Factory doing Deer Hunter. I'm like, Universal didn't want to try that out first.
No, I guess
So it's really wild. So like when they start taking those, who's going to take the little ones? Because then the next guy like who took the littler ones is going to take the bigger ones, and then who's coming out to do that? It's just a crazy thing.
No one's going to do the Wild Bunch because either Criterion has it or Warner Brothers should put it out. Then there's nothing.
I just like who's going to be forgotten in the next round. That's always crazy because people tend to realize like film to television broadcast. Not everything made it. Film to VHS, not everything made it. VHS to DVD, not everything made it. DVD even less. To 4K, like everything, like films get left in the dust each time around. There's probably stuff that got put on 16 millimeter watch things that didn't make it. Like or
the rights changed and they went in their closet somewhere and like look at the Heartbreak Kid. Like nobody can see the Heartbreak Kid. They're just going to forget about the Heartbreak Kid.
No Heartbreak Kid
once it comes out. Like it's just off the market. Nobody's seen it. Nobody wants it. Doesn't exist.
Or stuff got destroyed over the years and it just doesn't exist or something. There is one of my things I love following right now is called Film is Fabulous. It's a group in the UK who is going through estates and old collectors that are either not going to have many more years or their family has their stuff and they're going through and documenting their film. They collect 16 and 35 millimeter films. They're going through documenting that, helping them to restore, helping to get a archived version for people to have, people to have in a safe place for people. And they're finding a lot of interesting stuff. I don't think they found anything other than like cinema movies. I don't think they found anything yet, but they found like TV movies, episodes of things, and they're finding like the idea is to find the missing things or find better quality versions of things we already have. And if you're interested in like missing film or missing TV, the British have a ton of it because they used to trash everything instead of saving it. But thanks to Terry Jones, we have all the Monty Python stuff. So
that was good. Thanks to Terry Jones.
But yeah, so if you're interested, I recommend following that while we're talking about like stuff that doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, so I think we've talked a lot about Blood Rage, Thanksgiving, film collecting, oddities, stuff like that. Been a good time here.
Thanks for getting me to watch this picture again. I'm glad I did. I definitely liked it a lot more this time. I have more affection for it now.
Yeah, definitely.
I want that. That's out of print, right? $200 or something.
No. Well, they did put it out. So they put it out in the UK before they put out. There was a limited edition one. So maybe that's where the cut that I watched was. But there's a there's a standard edition.
I'll announce it.
I mean, it's 10 years old, almost 10 years old, so it's gonna be time for a 4K Blood Rage. Oh, $99 for the standard one. Let's see for the let's see if we go to the UK because it was a region-free disc.
Yeah.
Let's see the standard one in the UK. Let's see, because it might
be in print.
20 pounds in the UK for this. So that one's still in print over there. I don't know if it's just actually. So I think it's just missing the composite cut, which I think you still get the theatrical and uncut version. I think you might be missing the TV cut and the composite cut. But yeah. So very cool. So Yancy, till next time, where can people keep up with you?
This is always tough for me. I never have stuff fresh enough to promote, but I'm on X still, Yancy Jack, Facebook, Yancy Berns, and I do have the Milky Way Blues, which one day will hopefully get going again in some form or another. It's a blog.
It's gonna happen. I believe it.
I'm sure I'll be on Aaron's show with you at some point in the future talking about whatever. We just did Gladiator. That was fun.
Yeah, Gladiator was a really good one. I highly recommend.
Packed in a lot of references and a lot of stuff in that 2.5 hours.
Good stuff. All right. Well, I'm on the socials at Brandon4KUHD, including Blue Sky now. So follow me on there. Much more pleasant place. I'm liking it so far.
Is it? That's good.
Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, because there's no episode next week. I'm gearing up to do some more Doctor Who documentary work in Chicago at Chicago TARDIS. If you're there and you see me, say hi. I've never been there, but wanted to check this one out for quite a while, and I'm excited about the people I'll be involved in interviewing as well. But as a reminder, there are always Blu-ray reviews, 4K reviews on the YouTube channel that aren't here on the podcast stream. So definitely check out the YouTube channel if you're wanting new stuff. I've got probably up right now is the Hush review. I talk about the Shush Cut, and then I've got a couple others I haven't reviewed yet. Might pop up in that time, so check it out. But until next episode, stay film positive.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.